everybody, this is Detroit Allycat and welcome back to my channel. I have a pretty serious case that I'm going to do today, and I wanted to do it earlier in the week, but I just kept hesitating, and I feel like it was because it was such a hard case to do that I just was like putting it off, but I don't want to put it off anymore, and I would like to do this case today. So before we jump into this case, I want to be very clear about it because I just don't want to see you guys watch something that's going to mess you up, and studying this case messed me up, so I'm going to be upfront. Warning, this case contains sexual abuse, pedophilia, child abuse, drug abuse, and homicide. It's a very graphic case. I said this many, many times. Every time I think I've found the case that is just going to never get any worse, I unhappily do. And this case is very bad. It is about an 8-year-old little girl. I do not want you watching this and having nightmares at night. So if this is going to upset you, please leave immediately. Do not watch this. It's going to be bad. Very bad. I mean, bad enough for me to hesitate on actually doing it for a really long time. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day if you're not sticking around. And for those of you guys who are sticking around, welcome back to my channel. We are about to talk about Cherish Periwinkle. She was a 8-year-old little girl who was murdered on June 21st, 2013, and she was killed by a repeat pedophile in the early morning hours, and I want you guys to know all about her. Before we jump into the case, I wanted to do something that I do when I mourn or grieve for somebody. I'm sure you guys have seen me do this before, but I kind of wanted to go through it and explain it to you because it's kind of an important little ritual. And it's not just for pagans, like Roman Catholics do it. All kinds of religions do it. I take a white light to represent the innocence lost, and I go ahead and light the candle. And I like to think that when I have this candle lit, that this person's spirit is with me, and that when it goes out, that it peacefully passes and leaves to the next place. And it's a healing thing for me, and I feel like it's a really beautiful visual for you guys because it's very important to honor your dead and not acknowledge that they did pass away, so to speak. All right, we're going to jump right into the story because I want to tell you guys all the facts, and then I'm going to go into all of my, I guess, thoughts. And I'll do that at the end because some of you guys don't like my thoughts. But here's something I do want to put out here. I don't like cyberbullying, and I feel like this case has had some cyberbullying in it. And I know that you guys are going to have a very strong opinion about the mother, Cherish Perrywinkle, and that is okay. But what is not okay is for people to go hunt her down and post things on her Facebook, Twitter, or send her messages, death threats, and all these things. Like, I don't support this. This is not why I tell these stories. I am not standing up for the mother. I am standing up for the fact that this is not how we should act as a society. We do not punish people by cyberbullying them. We punish people with the law, and we come together and we try to do what's right for victims. And I've just seen so many cases where people didn't know the proper facts and somebody's life has been destroyed because a whole bunch of people thought that they knew what they were doing, and in fact they didn't know what they were doing. And it kind of, I don't want to be lumped into that. So sometimes when I tell these cases, there are going to be some allegedly things, which means like I don't know for sure, but this is what police think. These are what other people think. There's a lot of controversy the last month about like YouTube crime sleuths, I guess, if that's the right thing to call it. But I did get like taught, hey, when I talk about a case on my platform, that it is going to affect somebody. So I want to be clear. Please do not use anything I say as leverage to stalk, cyberbully, or hurt somebody. That's just not the right way to seek justice. It isn't. And we are better than that as a society, But, okay. Let us talk about Cherish Periwinkle. All right, Cherish Periwinkle was 8 years old, and she was born to Rain Periwinkle and Billy Jaru. Billy Jaru, they actually had a big custody battle over Cherish Periwinkle, where eventually the father would win custody for her for the summer, and that is what led to these chain of events. And I believe Billy Jaru lived in California, San Diego, and Rain Periwinkle actually lived in Jacksonville, Florida. Now, what I did find what was interesting is that Rain Periwinkle was actually 47 or 48 when Cherish died. She doesn't really look like she's that age, and right now, today, that would make her 58, which, if that's correct, and I say if because I did read that, but I'm not quite sure if that's the truth or it was just like a misprint or something, I would ask you to take a look at her and see what you think, because she definitely does not look like she's 58. But she has a little bit of a past. So let's take a minute to talk about Rain Periwinkle, Cherish's mother. Rain Periwinkle actually was born in California, and she moved with her mother to Australia. Something that is kind of interesting for me to find out is that Rain Periwinkle was not actually born Rain Periwinkle. Her name was Kimberly Hoy. And when Rain Periwinkle moved back to the States, she actually changed her name. And I'm not quite sure why. I have some ideas as to why, but I will leave that up to you guys to formulate those opinions. Rain moved back to the States, I believe 20 years later, and she would have 4 children. Her daughters' names were Lindsay, Cherish, Destiny, and Nevaeh. Lindsay was from one father in Australia. Cherish was from another father in San Diego, California. And Destiny and Nevaeh were actually from Jacksonville, Florida, and they lived with their father there. That would be Cherish Periwinkle's stepfather. Something that I did come about finding out through an interview online of her sister Carrie and her daughter Lindsay. They say that Lindsay, Rain's firstborn daughter, had been left in Australia, and she abandoned her when she was 5 years old. And Carrie said that she wasn't a very good mother to her, and that she just was concerned when she found out that Rain had children. And also her mother had been interviewed as well. Her name was Leslie, and Leslie voiced concern about Rain having other children too. She said that Cherish called her in Australia and begged her to come get her and let her live with her in Australia. And that had the grandma really upset and concerned about her grandchild. And the thing is that her daughter, Lindsay, the firstborn, went online and talked about her mother and said that she remembers being very nervous and upset when her mother was around, feeling like she was always doing wrong. And it was kind of a situation where you felt like maybe Rain was a little bit young at that time and not ready to have a child, and she just kind of wanted to go do her thing. But that is allegedly. Rain comes back, which is actually Kimberly Hoy. Kimberly Hoy flies to the States and changes her name to Rain Periwinkle. And she has Cherish, Destiny, and Nevaeh, and that's actually who she ends up living with in Jacksonville, Florida. We're caught up on the whole Rain, Cherish, Nevaeh, and Destiny. And let's talk about Cherish a little bit. Cherish was a beautiful 8-year-old girl. She was born on Christmas Eve of 2004. She was a strikingly beautiful little girl with long dark hair. She loved to ride her bike. She loved art. She loved playing with her little sisters. And she was just known for being a really sweet, kind, beautiful little girl. And the whole neighborhood knew who she was. And a lot of people really liked Cherish. Cherish was very, very excited that year because she was going to spend the entire summer with her father in San Diego, and she was really thrilled. She was going on a flight there, and that was what the court had awarded for the custody battle, or they had come to agreement of some sort like that. And so Cherish's mother, Rain Periwinkle, that's her name at this time, decides that she's going to go up to Dollar General and purchase some items for Cherish to take with her to on the trip. And her boyfriend, Cherish's stepfather, gives her $100 and says, "Here, use what you can out of this, but make sure you put enough aside so that you can get a cab to drop Cherish off at the airport." She goes up to the Dollar General. She walks up to the Dollar General with a stroller, Nevaeh, Destiny, and Cherish. And they go up there and they're looking at different things. They're looking at different outfits. And you can see that the girls are really excited. And Rain picks out an outfit and she goes up to the front counter and she asks how much it is. The person working there tells her how much it is. And she basically has to put it away because she can't afford it. And that is when they decide that they're going to leave. Little do they know that there is a man up there watching them. Now, this is going to be the person that commits this crime, and I don't really want to spend too much on him because I feel like he really enjoyed the attention that he got from this horrific crime, but I am going to have to tell you about him and what he did. But I don't want to focus this entire case on him just because I feel like it's really about what happened and what can be done to prevent something like this from happening in the future. But this man's name was Donald Smith, and he was a repeat sex offender. He was a pedophile, and he had come up to the Dollar General at that time to see if he could find like some pornographic material, some nudie magazines. He went up there and he asked the guy behind the counter where they were, and he said that they did not stock things like that at that Dollar General. And instead of leaving, he just kind of like stood in like the back and watched Cherish Periwinkle and her mother Rain Periwinkle, and then like kind of was just like watching them. And that's important to know because when you have predators of that type, they're going to sit there and watch who's the easiest to go after, like who will be easy prey. And a young woman with 3 small daughters and like not enough money already has a situation where they didn't drive up there. They didn't have enough money to pay for certain things that she wanted. They're kind of like a target. And so he was outside, and I believe Rain Periwinkle goes outside with her children, and she notices that it's raining. So she doesn't want to leave. And Donald Smith says to her, "Hey, if you want that dress, I'll go ahead and buy it for you." And I don't know what they started talking about, but Donald Smith then said he had a $100 gift certificate for Walmart, and he would be happy to go ahead and take them up there and let them buy whatever they needed for the trip. And he also said that his wife was coming on the way. So they waited for his wife for a little bit, and then he said that his wife would meet them at the Walmart. And for whatever reason, Rain Periwinkle decides that she's going to go ahead and get in this man's vehicle and let him drive her and her 3 young children to the Walmart down the road. Now, just the automobile alone, to me, would have been very suspect because it was a white van with carpet on the ground and no windows in the back. I mean, just saying, that's kind of pretty, that's a red flag. So she gets in the van and she brings her stroller and she puts her 2 children in, and then she puts Cherish in, and they head down to Walmart. So they get down to Walmart, and they get out of the car, and immediately Rain starts picking out clothes for the kids, and she's like organizing them for each of the kids. And she notices that the mother or the wife of this guy is not coming, and she's starting to get a little bit of suspect, but she doesn't really do anything. And what's really sad is she did suspect Donald Smith, because a couple of times, Rain gives her daughters or Cherish some outfits to go try on, and Donald Smith accompanies Cherish to the dressing room, not once but twice. And Rain says that she keeps looking over there, but she doesn't want him to think that she doesn't trust him. And they're still looking, and while they're picking out clothes, Donald Smith gives Cherish, I believe, a stiletto, and tells her to ask her mom, like, should we get this? And Rain's like, go put that away. That's not going to fit you. And Rain starts, like, feeling like something's wrong, but she still keeps going. And it's important to note that this is like at 10 o'clock at night. We're getting late. It's not like during the day. It's at night, and it's dark. And sometime while they were there, Donald Smith actually gets a rope, and he throws it into the cart. I don't know where this didn't, like, strike terror into her heart, but, like, the rope would have had me like, I'm done. Enough. I will take the money that I have and just pay for a cab to go home, because at this point, around 10:45, Donald Smith does this really bizarre thing, and he tells Cherish, like, hey, do you want to go get some McDonald's? And Cherish walks up to her mother, and she's like, you know what? He's got a gift certificate, and he's going to take us to the McDonald's in the front of the store. And then, like, Rain looks at Donald Smith, and he goes, we are going to get cheeseburgers. Again, another red flag. Like, what grown man does that? And I believe Donald Smith was 52 years old at the time, so it's kind of weird that he's doing sock puppets with his hand. Like, I don't know. The mom, like, goes ahead and says, yeah, sure, go ahead. Go with this guy to get some cheeseburgers. It's 10:45 at night. Walmart's going to close at 11. And the cameras in Walmart, actually, they videotape Cherish going with Donald Smith, and they videotape him not going to McDonald's, but just walking straight to the van and throwing Cherish into the van. Well, not throwing, she just got into the van. He probably told her, like, hey, we're going to drive to McDonald's, and just drove away. At this point, the mother realizes at 11 o'clock that the store is closing and that it's time for them to check out. So she goes to look for Cherish and Donald Smith, and she can't find him anywhere. She's, like, running down the aisles, like, trying to find him. Like, the kids are running all around. It's kind of a hot mess. And she has to go to the employees and call 911. And at that point, she calls 911, and, like, it's pretty obvious that she knows that her daughter's been abducted by a pedophile. And she even says that. She's like, I hope he doesn't rape her. I had these feelings, and I was just a fool. And it's horrible. But, like, her gut instinct was telling her, like, don't trust this guy. But for some reason, because of her desperate situation, she went ahead and trusted him. And she calls the police come, and for some reason the police did not actually put out an Amber Alert until June 22nd, 5:30 a.m., so that's around 5 or 6 hours later after Cherish had been abducted. And, there's a bolo put out for a white van, and they basically have a description of what Donald Smith looks like. And the next day, the train of events that happen are very sad, but what happens is that, Donald Smith is caught going down the highway, and he's driving, and an officer pulls him over and immediately notices that he fits the description of the person who abducted the little girl. He notices that he's soaking wet and he's muddy. And at the same time that that's happening, there is a man that goes to a church. I believe he was like a groundskeeper or something like that. And he finds a stroller in the back of the church. It's the Highlands Baptist Church. And he finds that it's really odd and not like normal. So he calls the police, and the police put two and two together that they caught Donald Smith and he's all wet and muddy. And then they found the stroller that they identified as Rain Periwinkle stroller that she had actually put into Donald Smith's big white van. And so they go ahead and they search the area behind the church, and there's like a little creek back there. And so they find the body of Cherish Periwinkle, and she is dead. And she's been like placed in a bag with bricks and put into this like shallow creek, and it doesn't even seem like he really tried that hard to hide her body. Like, he just left the stroller out for somebody to find and like buried her in a shallow creek. And yeah, so they arrest him immediately and they put him on trial, and that is when a lot of the things that I think are quite disturbing started to come out. So we're just going to go ahead and do this part. I don't want to, but we're going to, because I think it's really important that you guys know. Cherish was raped, tortured, beaten, and the cause of death was actually asphyxia. There are like a lot of really awful details about her that I normally include stuff like this, but I'm having a really hard time with it. Like, the way that she was raped, very brutal, and I just can't imagine what kind of a person would be able to do this to an 8-year-old, nonetheless anybody at all. But like, when there is someone that rapes a child, there are specific characteristics to it, and I've noticed this, like, they don't like to look at the child. They hide the child in shame, and sometimes they even say they're sorry. And like, even Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, when he was raping children, he said he was sorry and let them go after he was done raping them. The fact that I'm like, this was more like cold-blooded, it was just very disgusting. It was disgusting. And you know, if you're interested in finding out, there was nothing that was untouched on Cherish Periwinkle. And that's just really sad that her innocence had to be taken that way, and then she had to be murdered afterwards. I can only imagine what was going through her head, and I'm trying not to be opinionated right now because I want to still get through all the facts. And the reason that I actually say this was such a horrific crime and evidence to back that up is there was the doctor that did the autopsy has done hundreds and hundreds of autopsies, done many, many children that died, and she even talks about it. And she's a very scientific woman. You can tell from the get that, like, she's very no nonsense. Like, she sees the body as like a scientific thing. She tries to look at all the evidence in a non-biased way. You could just tell she's a very intelligent woman, and she's been doing this for 30 years. And she breaks down and she starts crying on the stand. Like, that just speaks to what, it's just not a very common crime that was committed. There's just a lot of facts that come out. Obviously, a lot of people blamed Rain Periwinkle for what happened because they felt like she was her mother and she should have protected her, and she put her in this situation. So the DCF actually stepped in and took the children away from her, the two last children, Nevaeh and Destiny. And, that actually sparked a lot of like these interviews of Rain Periwinkle. And there were some things that, like, I saw immediately that I just thought were a bit odd. Like, she was very in front of the camera a lot. Like, she did a lot of interviews. And maybe that's because she wanted justice for her child. And she wanted people to know what had happened. And, but people were not kind about her. She had a really hard time finding a job. She lost her job. She said that she was devastated. She was given a year to get her life back together, like get another job, get some place for the kids to live, and she could not do that, and she was a wreck. And this is going to be allegedly, but I suspect that they thought that there was some drug use involved, and I always thought that she looked a little rough, but then I found out her age, so that makes a little bit of sense that she looked older to me because she was older. You know, there was a lot of other stuff that came out also, is that, you know, her family from Australia came back to basically, they said they wanted to adopt these two little girls. So Rain Periwinkle's sister, her name was Carrie, she actually got married to her boyfriend, and they adopted the two little girls, and they went back home to Australia with their family that lived over there and stay with Lindsay, which was Rain Periwinkle's first daughter, and they were going to a stable home, and now they're there and they're actually fighting for citizenship in Australia. But Rain Periwinkle is not happy about this. She's like really upset. She says she's devastated. She's the mother, and it's kind of like controversial because she's homeless and she still doesn't have a job, but she still wants these two little girls. And despite that, she's not getting these two little girls. They've been taken away from her, and that is that. But also, almost a year or 2 years later, the DCF decided to let go of some records and let it be for public knowledge. And some of the things that I read about was there were 5 allegations of abuse and a neglect in the house before Cherish Periwinkle was murdered. The Rain was accused of shaking Cherish for crying, and when the DCF came and went to go check it out, they could find no like proof or evidence of that, and they found that the daughter was still okay. One time Cherish was not picked up from daycare, she was just left there. That was another thing. Her father, Billy Giroux, and now this is just a complaint. Like, they found no proof of this, so please do not go on somebody's Facebook or anything and be like, you are this. Like, this is just a complaint. There's no proof of it. But they said that her father, Billy Giroux, was accused of spanking and leaving marks on Cherish, and that he was also accused of molesting another child. And then a little bit after that, he was also accused of sexually molesting another child. In 2009, that's just for the father. In 2009, Rain Periwinkle said that someone molested Cherish. So there's a lot of stuff in this case. And then in 2012, allegation that Rain's cherished stepfather was accused of leaving bruises on Rain. These are all claims and allegations. The DCF said that they could not find proof or evidence of that, and that is why Cherish and the 2 younger girls were never removed from the house. The DCF also said that there were services being used to help where there was therapy and counseling, so that meant that like the family was getting counseling for whatever situation. One of the interviews that I thought was really interesting was that Rain Periwinkle went on Dr. Oz, and when she went on Dr. Oz, she said that she wanted to be drug tested and she wanted a lie detector test. And Dr. Oz asked her, why do you want these things? And she said because everyone was accusing her of being a drug addict and lying, and that she sold her daughter to this man for $100. She wanted to clear her name, and she did. At least on Dr. Oz. Let's go back to Donald Smith. I just want to go over this just a little bit because it's important, because I feel like this could have been prevented on so many different levels. But with Donald Smith, what was really interesting is that he was actually released from prison 3 weeks earlier to murdering and doing these things to Cherish Periwinkle for sex offenses against children. So he was a registered sex offender, and then when he went on trial, one of his victims from a long time ago, I believe he was 20 or 30 years old, he had gone to a park and tried to kidnap a 13 or 14-year-old girl, and she climbed up the slide and basically held herself in there until he left because she knew he was a bad man, and then ran to her friend's house and hid. And that little girl, who is now a full-grown adult, came to Cherish Periwinkle's trial. It's actually Donald Smith's trial, and testified against Donald Smith. I feel like that just speaks to the fact that, like, we should have, like, not let him out. Like, I don't know. And there was multiple offenses in Donald Smith's background for, trying to get little kids and doing these sexual assaults and stuff like that, trying to kidnap and all kinds of stuff. And I don't even know how he could be let around kids. And there just needs to be, and this is me putting my opinion in there just needs to be some kind of way to stop this and to, like, fix this broken thing, like this broken way of doing things. Like, pedophiles should not be allowed around, like, kids ever. And I know that it's like people will say, like, personal rights are being violated and we have to do a certain thing. You can't fix a pedophile. You can't. That's just who they are. And I know that that's, like, a controversial thing to say, but even a pedophile will tell you, like, we can't change who we are. Like, they need to be chemically castrated, or at least put in an area that can never go around children or be tracked, because these people will not change. They will not. And I know psychiatric people that have worked with them. I've known law enforcement worked with them. It's just a proven thing. If your sexual preference is children, you're not going to be able to change that. You can't. It's just part of who you are, and that's just, that's the facts. Like, I guess, like, you could say that this was my opinion, but it's not. It's a proven fact. Like, if you're a pedophile, you cannot change that. And anyway, during the whole trial, you get to watch Donald Smith, and the thing that just caught me was the way he laughed, the way that he, like, thought this whole situation was funny. He showed no remorse. He just seemed honestly, like, scary, like, looking straight into the face of evil. And I don't even think he was trying to be evil. He was just being weird in himself. And it was just, he also had his defense say that he was mentally ill. And there is no doubt in my mind that this man was mentally ill. He tried to say that he had brain damage. I wouldn't be surprised if he had brain damage. I really wouldn't. But unfortunately, the crime is so horrendous, and the fact that he can hurt society and society's most innocent things is not an excuse that you have brain damage. Like, obviously, like, I don't even know what to say about that, but it's not an excuse. It's not okay to do these things if you have brain damage. If you're that messed up and you can't control yourself and you've went ahead and done these things, then you shouldn't be released into society, period. And that's the other thing, is that this was a capital punishment case, because there is the death penalty in Florida, and that's another controversial subject because a lot of people don't believe in, the death penalty. But I mean, if you're going to go ahead and convict somebody of the death penalty, this is probably one of the cases that should and was considered, and he was sentenced to death. And after he was convicted, I believe early this year, January 2021, he tried to appeal it in the Supreme Court. He said that his jury was biased against me because it was a international case, but the thing is, it wasn't, because I didn't ever hear of Cherish Periwinkle. I don't know if you guys have, but I never heard of it. And they did the trial 5 years after Cherish Periwinkle was murdered. So the chances of the jury being able to remember who Cherish Periwinkle was 5 years later is pretty low. I think they kicked that right out of court, and I believe that his charges have stood. I don't know how many appeals death row inmates get. It's definitely more than one. We're probably going to see him go up and try to get another appeal. He's never coming out of prison, ever, and that's good. And, I don't know if he's going to get out of the death row. I guess I'll just keep my opinion to myself, but this case just was really this is where I'm going to go into my personal opinions. That was all the facts. Now I'm going to give you some of my thoughts, okay? I wanted to do this case because I felt like, okay, like I really sat there and thought to myself, like, why do I want to do this case? Like, do you just want to talk about something horrible? No, I don't want to just talk about something horrible. I want people to understand that there are monsters in the world, and they want your kids. And you go out there and you are down on your luck, and I live in a world where people are down on their luck. You know, you don't have enough money for food, or you don't have enough money for rent, or you have 4 or 5 kids and things are rough, you know? And that's just part of life for every society. And unfortunately, there are predators out there that are watching these situations and they're ready to prey on it. So part of the reason I wanted to go ahead and just jump out there and put this case out there is because you need to understand that if you have children, don't ever take a ride from a stranger. Don't ever trust a stranger. Like, always be suspicious. Always be on guard. Never second guess yourself, because, I mean, the things that can happen are just, you don't even want to know. Like, people, there's some bad people. There's a beautiful world out there. There really is. But that small, tiny percentage of evil that lies in wait for you is just... And I wanted moms and people who are with kids and dads, everyone to know, like, these cases exist. There are monsters out there. And the other thing is that, like, the whole sex offender thing, like, people always say to me, like, oh, well, if this person did something wrong, they will be caught and something will happen to them. The law will get them. I don't know who put that in anybody's head, but there are so many unsolved homicides, disappearances. It's just, do yourself a favor. If you really believe that the law will save you against the evil, Google it. You know, just Google how many people are missing in your area. Google how many sex offenders are on your block. It's not something that should be taken lightly. It's something that I'm really passionate about, and I feel like I can't tell people enough that, you know, you got to watch your back. Watch your back and watch the people that are around you. Watch their back too, because this was a hard case for me to do. I always think to myself, like, I'm not going to get, like, attached. But Cherish Periwinkle, like, she was a really cute little girl that deserved to live. All of these cases, they didn't deserve it. It's just some of them, like, they punched me so hard in the gut. And this one definitely hit me hard, and it made me sad. And the whole case surrounding it just really upset me, because it went wrong in so many different directions, and I just don't know what to say about it. All I know is that it was just, when I found out about Cherish Periwinkle, I really wanted to talk about it, and I really wanted to put it in a case for you guys to hear. And I hope I did a good job, because I'm actually been dreading this day, like, just keep putting it off, and I didn't do my, like, hair or makeup or anything because I didn't want you to, like, pay attention to anything weird. I just wanted you to hear the case. It's very important to me. I hope that Cherish Periwinkle is in a beautiful place now, and I hope there's no pain wherever she is. And that was my case. If you watched the whole thing, please tell me what you think. Let me know what you think, how I did, what I can fix, any of those things. I always love hearing that. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Think about subscribing. Again, stay safe and stay spooky. Bye.